Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are cracking open the playbook of some seriously seasoned self-storage operators. We're going to distill their hard-won lessons on everything from handling those Monday morning disasters to completely modernizing your tech stack.
All right, let's just dive right in with a scenario that I think every operator probably dreads. It's 8 a.m. on a Monday. You're just getting your coffee, the week is starting, and then the phone rings. There is a major problem at your facility. What is your first move? For one operator, this wasn't just a hypothetical.
And this is exactly how his week kicked off. A car literally crashing right through the front gate of his facility. I mean, what a chaotic, totally unexpected way to start the week. But here's the real kicker. The biggest disaster wasn't the broken gate. It was the broken process that this accident exposed.
Yeah, so this completely unexpected event ended up highlighting a really critical weakness. And it wasn't in the fence, it was in their paperwork. This crisis forced them to take a hard look at a system that, frankly, hadn't been updated in years.
The moment this happened, they realized their incident report form was, well, totally useless. It was this generic thing that didn't prompt for any of the essential details, like the driver's insurance information, or even just a simple reminder to call the city about the now broken fire hydrant. The form wasn't a tool, it was a liability.
So here is where they made a genius move. They turned this one-time problem into a permanent process improvement. They took all the specific details of what happened, fed it into an AI tool, and had it generate a super detailed step-by-step checklist. And just like that, they transformed a reactive mess into a proactive system for any crisis that might come up in the future.
And you know, that whole idea of upgrading your systems, it applies directly to technology too. Because let's be real, if your incident reports are outdated, there's a pretty good chance that other parts of your operation are too.
This move from old school to modern ops is really where you can unlock some massive efficiencies. Just think about it for a second. Standalone desktop software means you can't easily take online payments. Paper leases are just a huge liability waiting to happen. And having a real website, not just a directory listing, can literally automate your entire customer journey.
Now, when you're making this technological leap, here's a critical piece of advice. Pull your autopay report before the old software goes dark. Seriously. That single file is your lifeline. It gives you a contact list to get all your customers re-enrolled, and it prevents a sudden painful drop in revenue. It just makes the whole transition so much smoother.
But here's the thing. Even the best systems are only as good as the people who are running them. So once your tech is solid, the next great challenge is always finding reliable staff, because great software just can't make up for a bad hire.
30%. Just let that number sink in. That is the typical show-up rate for scheduled interviews. This one stat tells you everything you need to know about how tough the hiring market is and exactly why you need a system to avoid wasting your precious time.
So to combat this, operators have come up with a method they call the flake filter. The core idea is actually really simple. Test for reliability before you test for skill. It's not about finding the perfect employee on day one. It's about quickly filtering out the people who are very clearly not the right fit.
And this isn't some deep dive into the resume, okay? It's a quick, practical test of reliability. Can they figure out how to use Zoom? Do they actually show up on time for a 15-minute call? Does their resume show a new job every few months? These are just simple filters that weed out candidates before you commit to a full hour-long interview.
And this is one of the most powerful questions in their entire hiring playbook. It is so simple, but it reveals an enormous amount about a candidate's work ethic and their expectations. The only correct answer is 0. And you would be surprised, genuinely surprised, how many candidates will actually think about it for a second and then say something like, oh, maybe 3, like 1 a month? And that right there tells you everything you need to know.
So, with your operations and your people in place, the focus can now shift to that long-term strategy and growth. And this includes understanding the acquisition game from the other side of the table.
Look, operators are getting bombarded with offers to sell their properties, so why does one finally break through? It's almost never the first postcard or the first call that works. It's all about being top of mind when that owner's personal timing is finally right. One day, for whatever reason, they're just ready to have that conversation.
And this single piece of advice from industry expert Jane Sells just perfectly encapsulates the mindset you need for maximum value. If your books, your operations, and your facility are always ready for a sale, you'll not only run a better business day to day, but you'll be completely prepared to capitalize when that perfect offer arrives out of the blue.
Okay, finally, let's get into some quick-fire Q&A on those small operational details that can actually make a huge difference. The everyday decisions that can either delight or completely infuriate your customers.
So this is a common question, right? Those transaction fees can really add up to a significant expense, and it's super tempting to pass that cost directly on to the customer. But is it a good idea?
The consensus is crystal clear. Don't do it. A separate fee just opens you up to angering people. It's simply the cost of doing business in the modern world. Instead, you build that cost into your overall revenue management strategy. Absorbing the fee maintains goodwill, and that is way more valuable in the long run.
So, you've got this built-in source of potential tenants just down the street. What's the most effective way to reach out? Do you send a mailer to every single door, or is there a better way?
Well, the data shows that old-school personal relationship building dramatically outperforms those impersonal mass-market mailers. Going to the office, introducing yourself, and offering a real incentive like a $50 to $100 referral fee for the manager and a month of free rent for their tenants, that creates a win-win partnership that actually generates business.
And that really brings us to the final takeaway. The common thread through all of these stories is proactive improvement. So what low-hanging fruit is waiting in your facility this week? Is it that outdated incident report? Your hiring process? Maybe it's that apartment complex down the street? The key is to just pick one and start, because those small, consistent improvements are what separate the good operators from the great ones.